Hi, this is Mr. New and welcome to another episode of Flash Professional CS5 for EastTech. In this episode we will be learning about inverse kinematics through use of the bone tool. The bone tool will add bone-like structure and movement to your sprite animated character and other objects. So before we get started with the bone tool, we need to make sure that all of the working parts that are going to be moving are movie clip instances and not graphics. This is the time when we do need to make sure these objects are movie clips. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and unlock our spider layer and hide our mask. And let's go ahead and first click on the body, and I can go up to modify, convert to symbol, make sure that it is a movie symbol, and I'm going to name this body. And now I'm going to click on each body part, and I can either go up to modify or just hit F8. Call this upper arm, and it's going to be a movie clip. F8 mid arm, and F8 lower arm. Okay, now all of our objects have been converted. I'm actually going to start with these arm segments higher up. I kind of like them to be starting at the top because as we add instances, notice that they are always on the top of the image. They've been moved to the front. So I'm going to actually have all my legs coming on down around the body, starting from this one will be the back leg when we're done. So with those selected, I can actually start adding the bone tool. The bone tool is right over here in our tool palette, and it actually looks like a little bone. If I go ahead and click on that, I want to start by clicking on the part that connects to the body. So if this was a person, it would be the shoulder, and if a spider had a shoulder, this would be a shoulder. I click there and drag to the next joint, and I'm going to basically be clicking and dragging from each joint to each joint. And now that I got those joints selected, notice all three pieces are selected. I do not need to drag it any further. The bone will be fine with those two pieces. And now I've now created a bone. Now if I grab my selection tool, I can actually pull this around and move it, and it will work just like a bone would work as far as the pieces. I can make some modifications to this. If I select this and go to my properties panel, it gives me a number of properties that I do have control over that I can actually adjust. We won't get into that in this episode, but just to understand they are there. They will be some things that we can play around with. One thing, if you notice when I had that one little piece that was flipping around, I can actually constrain that joint to where it can only move to a certain limit. But for this exercise, we won't worry about that for right now. Go ahead and move on. What we want to do right now is create our actual animation. So I'm going to go ahead and extend my timeline out to 60. So I'm going to shift click from the first frame of the first layer to the last frame of the last layer and hit F5, and that will extend my animation out. Notice the armature layer. The armature was created by Flash when I created the bones. The armature is actually my bone layer of that leg. It's also in an olive color. That tells me that it is an armature layer. I can change the name of this, however, so I will call this leg 1, and that will now be my spider leg, the first leg that I've created. And I want to create a loop animation. So I want the animation to begin and end in the exact same position. In order to do that, I go out to the last frame of my leg animation, right click, and I want to insert pose. This is sort of like creating, well, it's exactly like creating a property keyframe in that last frame. If I now go to frame 30, that's halfway, I can go ahead and move my spider leg all the way up to the highest position that it's going to be when it's walking. So we'll go ahead and create a position right about there. So now as I scrub through, the arm comes up and it comes back down. If I want a little bit more stylized approach, I can go halfway in between. And let's say halfway in between, this leg is going to actually be bent more in. And then when I come back out, I'm going to have the leg kind of be spread out a little bit more this way. So now as I scrub, you're going to see a totally different look as it's coming down. But it ends in the exact same position. So we're going to go with that. If I wanted to view that in the viewer, I can go ahead and do a command return to view it in Flash Player. And go ahead and stop that. Let's go ahead now, and now what we want to do is we want to duplicate those legs. It's a little bit different than what we've done in the past in creating animation. What we want to do with this one is we're actually going to be selecting all three parts of the leg, and instead of clicking down here to copy frames, we're actually going to right click on the bone structure itself, and we're going to convert that whole leg bone structure to a symbol. Let's call this leg. And we also want this to be a graphic symbol, not a movie clip. We're going back to graphic symbols, hit OK, and now in my library that leg appears. If I can right click on this leg, I'm going to copy it, and now I'm going to add some layers. Let me go ahead and lock these layers up. Now if I go ahead and copy, let's see, 3 more layers, because we're going to finish off the legs on that one side, and we'll name these leg 2, 3, and 4. And now as I click on this, I can click on that first frame and do a Command V to paste. I'll go ahead and drag that leg on in to where I want it to be. Click on the next one and Command V to paste. And I'm just going to pull each one of these legs into their own position. And if I go ahead and lock all of these legs, here's leg 4. We're going to basically leave leg 4 where it's at. We're going to start it right there. Leg 3, however, we want this to be in a different position. So we go ahead and select leg 3, go to properties, and remember looping, we can change the first frame. So this one, we're going to go ahead and start that at frame 30. And let's go to leg 2. We're going to lock leg 3, unlock leg 2, select that one, change that to 15. Let's go to leg 1 and lock leg 2, click on that one, and we'll change that one to 45. So now as we move our legs, they're moving very spider-like. Let's go ahead and copy legs now over to 5, 6, 7, and 8. So copy, we'll add 4 more legs to the other side. Let's name them. Okay, so now I have legs 5, 6, 7, and 8, same thing. I can go ahead and Command V to paste. Only this time we're going to need to transform, flip horizontal, and then pull it into place. And we'll do the same thing with all of these, Command V. In fact, let's see if we can get them all in here at once. I've copied 4 sets of legs. Let's go ahead and select all 3 of those. And we're going to go ahead and modify, transform, flip horizontal. So now if we grab each leg, we'll lock them and move them one at a time. Put leg 6 on down, leg 7. And now leg 8, put back into place. And now we got those legs in place. Now let's go ahead and set those positions of where we want those. I think what would be kind of nice if we go just the opposite. So leg 8 is the one furthest in front. So let's start with leg 5. So leg 5 here in the back is going to be in this first position. Leg 6 moves into frame 30. Our next leg, frame 15. And our last leg at frame 45. So if we scrub through, we see the motion. So let's go ahead and view that in Flash Player. Very good. So that's how we create animation using the Bone tool in Flash Professional. Your assignment is to create a sprite that has multiple joints. So if you're using a previous sprite, you're going to need to make sure that you create new legs where you have a knee joint and a lower part of the leg, upper part of the leg, and for that matter, even have the foot be joined on as well. For the arms, you want to have an elbow joint, so you're going to have an upper arm and then the lower arm, and then the hand separately, so the hand can be jointed as well. So you're going to be creating a new sprite that will have those pieces. If you have an old sprite, you'll have to recreate that. Go ahead and create it in this fashion and have fun with this.